Hi, guys. Welcome back to my channel and my podcast. My name is Autumn, and my podcast is called Assume the Position. And I am here with the lovely Brittany. We have such a treat for you today. Brittany is so amazing. I'm sure you guys, if you come across my channel, then you already know about Brittany. But today we're going to have an amazing, free flowing conversation, and we're going to just share in a beautiful conversation. So, I want to introduce Brittany and let her introduce herself to you guys for those of you who don't know. And if you don't know, you've probably been sleeping under a rock. So thank you so much for joining me, Brittany.
Hi, Autumn. Thank you so much for doing this. I am beyond excited and I can't wait to get into chatting.
Yes, yes. So Brittany, for those who don't know you or this may be their first time seeing you, tell us a little bit about yourself, your channel, and what you do.
Yeah, great question. Well, I am what I guess I would call a law of being coach, if you will. I post a lot of content on YouTube all about living and being your true self as I am. So that's what I do. That's what I love talking about. And if you guys have ever happened on one of my videos, you know I love to talk about this stuff and I could go forever. So I'm excited to kind of get a different perspective from Autumn and to kind of share both of our perspectives and see how they kind of work together.
Yes, yes. And it's so amazing because um, I recently did a challenge, and one of the things that I wanted to do for myself was I wanted to make sure I was communing with more people who have similar views as me, and invite them on my channel as well. So when I said that I wanted to do it, the first person I thought of was definitely Brittany because I came across a video of hers about a little over a year ago, and it was very similar mindset to mine. And so that's the conversation we're going to be having today. We're going to be talking about dying to the old self. You guys know that I've talked about that quite a bit on my channel, but I want to cover it from a different angle. But I also want to invite Brittany in on this conversation because she had such an amazing success story that she shared, and it was just so full of knowledge, so full of just like I totally got it. And I was like, I have to speak to her because I love the way that she expressed it in this. So I'm excited to hear about that. So, Brittany, share with us your story or your experience about how you realized that you were sourced. Because I feel like if you understand this whole I am thing, which we both talk about it on our channels, I think that there's a certain story that comes upon you, or like something happens to where you just kind of have this knowing and then you don't go back. So definitely
Yeah.
share your story with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny how you phrase that too, because I think all of us that are in this community, if you will, we kind of come into this understanding usually either through some sort of awakening that we have in our, everyday life, or because we're looking for it. We feel like there has to be more to this life. Like I feel like I have so much more that I want to do and explore and experience. And for whatever reason, it's just not working the way that I want it to, and there's just a little voice or even just a sense that's there that's kind of telling you like, come on, there's more here. So that's how I ended up discovering all of this at quite a young age, to be honest. This was like 18 years ago or so, where I was just having a lot of difficulties in my marriage at the time. Young mom, had two little kids, was trying to make money, go to school, do all the things, was having a really difficult time with my relationship. And I was just feeling so overwhelmed and scared and just, I didn't really know what to do in my situation. So I started looking into things, and I really just found Abraham Hicks, and she was talking about positivity and thinking positively. And I think I misinterpreted her message at the time. So I was like, there's no way I can do this. I'm doing everything I can to be positive. And I don't know, maybe it's just something wrong with me. But after, a few years of practicing that, not really getting anywhere, I ended up finding Neville and Joseph Murphy, and all of these different amazing teachers. And while all of this stuff was great and amazing, and Neville was definitely pointing to the truth of who we were, I still didn't have that knowing for myself. Like I could say it, I could agree with it, I could even say that I believed in it, but I didn't have like that direct experience where I knew it without a doubt. And so the first time I had a glimpse of that, where I really truly knew like, this is all me, was when I was trying to manifest a drastic change in one of my family members' lives. And basically, to make a long story short, he struggled with mental health issues for many, many years. And this was somebody that I was very, very close to and I spent lots of time with. And I just started feeling so horrible every time I would be around him for him. He was always, in a bad way, always depressed. And even when he would get himself to start to feel better, he would then go back again. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I could do something to turn this around. And so I got into, okay, I'm going to do my manifesting things. I'm going to do my techniques and all of the things that, we believe we have to do to manifest. And so it wasn't working. And in fact, it wasn't only just not working, but things just appeared to get worse and worse. And I started to feel really horrible. Like, is it something that I'm doing? Am I making this worse than it even was before? But something kept popping up into my mind about me and focusing on myself. And so I just decided I'm going to go back and read Neville, which had already read, through his books like 5 times or so already. And I was just like, I'm going to go back and read again. And I would always find things in there too that, like, wow, now I understand this differently. I'm understanding it in a deeper way. And so as I was looking through one of his lectures, he was talking about the art of dying and talking about how we have to die daily to the old self. And as I was reading this, it just clicked. And I was like, oh my gosh, this whole time I was trying to change this person and trying to convince myself that he was a different person, not really understanding that this is really about me and the way that I define myself and my experiences, not other people. And so I dropped the whole trying to manifest for him. And I just thought if he were truly happy, healthy, and just living his best life, what would that mean for me? How would I feel? How would I be different if he were different? And it was just so obvious. It was like I would be at peace. I would feel relaxed. I would feel good when we were going to go spend time together because I know that everything's going amazing with him. And so I just started focusing on that, feeling into that. And he started to seem a little bit better. But as it sometimes does, as we know, he then had a massive panic attack. And it was the worst that I had ever experienced with him before. And so, of course, my mind started going and doing the whole thing of, here we go again. Like, why do you believe that you can do this? This is ridiculous. Like, you're not God. If you were God, you could do this. And I was just like, hold on. No, I'm not falling for this again. I know who I am. I know who I am. And so I stayed in that. I continued to return to that. And he actually did have another panic attack after that as well. But after that, things were so different. He started calling me and telling me he was going out and being social. He got really excited because he had a new job opportunity. And all of these things were just like coming together for him. And it almost felt like this feels so natural and normal to me that maybe it would have just happened anyway. And then I was like, no, 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 no. I know that the reason why he is different is because I'm different and because I know the truth of who I am. So for me, that was like the first glimpse of really knowing the truth.
Yeah, that was so beautiful too. Definitely, that was the video I came across of yours a while ago, where I was like, while she was telling the story, I told her the other day, when she was telling the story, I was watching the video, I was like listening to the story and I was like thinking of the art of dying myself as she was saying it. But when she said it, I was like, yes, she gets it. She gets exactly what, Neville meant and what so many teachers mean about dying to yourself daily. And it was just so amazing to see. And I just, ever since then, I would just check in on her conversations and what she was talking about. And I was just like blown away. And I was like, it's very, very beautiful to hear people really know the truth and how they got there. So if you guys don't know my story, I've had so many different stories about how I actually came into the awareness of the art of dying. I had so many stories, but to have a really gut punch direct experience personally for myself was when I made a perceived mistake in my business. I talked about it before, a previous business I had. And I think for so long I was trying to drag the old self, trying to fix the old self, really not letting it go because what happened in just one particular reality. And I was already moved on, but I couldn't grasp certain things because I still was carrying the old with me, trying to make sure I didn't do the same things. And I was still acting out as the old self. And then I had this one moment where I was sitting one time, just a mess, really upset. And then it just came over me that all of a sudden I just felt this compassion for the old self that I had never felt before. And I
Yeah.
could really see that she was never going to get it. Like she was just never going to get it because that reality was totally different than the one that I was in now. And I was like, I have to like lay this version of myself down completely. And with this amount of love and acceptance of welcoming it back into the whole, so that way I can make a decision from full power instead of a fractioned off moving, thinking you're moving as one, but still kind of
Yeah.
like rejecting part of yourself, which is definitely rejecting a part of the whole. You're rejecting your
Yep.
full self. So you can't move as one. And so
Mhm.
once I understood that, I was like, okay, I just let it go. And the next day I woke up, it was just like so light because I wasn't
Yeah.
carrying the old version around. And then immediately things started picking back up the way they were before. And it was just such a drastic shift, like jolting, like shift that I was like, okay, I get it. And
Yeah.
another thing that I shared it on my channel a few months ago, a video, I'll link it down below, but where I had this experience where I woke up in a lucid dream and it was a totally different reality than what I was currently living, but I still had the same things in that reality that I had in the other reality
Oh
as
my
well.
gosh.
But it was so clear to me that it wasn't just Autumn that was in that reality because sometimes we think we're this body, this character more than we are I am.
Yeah.
And it was so clear to me and obvious to me that I am was the only one that it was entering that experience and not me as Autumn thinking I'm doing all this work. It was just so clear to me that it was I am that stepped into that reality and was lighting up the experience that that character Autumn appeared in. And so it was just this whole realization of, we step into these new versions of ourselves and then we die to the old version. And I want to talk about it from this point of self abandonment, which Neville talks about. But I really want to talk about what do you think about self abandonment when Neville talks about it? And I
Hmm.
have a quote here from him.
Hmm.
So I'll just read that really quick. And he says, how do you do it? And he's talking about how do you shift into the new. He says, how do you do it? Self abandonment, that's the secret. You must abandon yourself mentally to the wish fulfilled in your love for that state. And so, what do you think about that? Because I think, like I said, that was my whole thing where I was trying to bring in drag that old Autumn around and say that something was wrong with her and that she needed to be fixed and all this stuff. And I just was not letting it go. And
Yeah.
so what do you think about like when you think about self-abandonment in terms of the art of dying? What would you
Hmm.
think about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I love that story, by the way, about that lucid dream. That's so cool. So, yeah, really, it's like you were kind of talking about understanding that while, yes, we manifested this character to have this human experience, it's not truly who we are. So, really starting to get comfortable with of course, knowing, yes, we're living our lives through the character, but also at the same time, kind of taking a step back every now and then to recognize that, hold on a second, this isn't me. While sure, these experiences are here, they're appearing within me as awareness, it's not actually who I am. So when you understand that and you realize that whatever it is that the character is going through or dealing with at the time is absolutely valid, it's absolutely valid to have thoughts and feelings about those experiences. And instead of trying to resist them, fight against them, pretend that they're not there, affirm over them, all of the different, methods and techniques that you can choose to do, it's really to just see it for what it is. It's one identity, one of infinite identities, which all simultaneously exist within you as awareness. So, really knowing that you can give love to your character, you can validate your character for the way that they're feeling, but you don't attach your sense of self to
Yeah.
the character. That's what it means to surrender, to let go. And to make it clear for anybody that's listening, it doesn't mean that you live your life and you just don't do anything. It just means that you really actually flow. You allow everything, you don't fight against it, but you choose to define yourself in the way that you want to experience yourself.
Yes, yes, that's beautiful. That's exactly the way that I would describe it. And I think too, being kind of on the other side, reading this quote from Neville, the
Mhm.
way that I interpret it now is basically that I am is the wish fulfilled. That not that you're actually abandoning yourself, like mentally, like abandoning, like I said, a lot of us think that we're just solely operating as this physical person,
Right.
and we're abandoning this one physical person and then attaching ourselves to another physical being, which in some sense for the smaller self, yes, but you have to zoom out just a little bit more to see that the wish fulfillment is in I am. It is
Mhm.
I am is the wish fulfillment. So it's the love of yourself as the source, which powers this character, the experience, and all that's in it. When you abandon yourself for the love of that, that is more so the truth, not just thinking, okay, like I'm going to step into this new version and
Mhm.
then I'm going to have the experience with the person and all of that. All of that is a byproduct
Right.
of that anyway, of
Right.
the fulfillment that you are. And so I
Yeah.
think I know when I had that moment for myself, it was this recognition that it was just this understanding that I am as the source was the only like fulfillment anyway,
Yeah.
like the only
Yeah.
fulfillment. And I could have many experiences, yes, but I think too, after coming from like a loss in business and then drastically having all these different shifts in my life, I do believe that now I have this different perspective when it comes to understanding I am as source, because now, of course, like you said, you're still going to go on, you're going to get married, you're going to have family, you're going to, get the car, the
Yeah.
dream home, the money, all the things that you want and you should want to have them.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
when the energy shifts and it changes, because all of them have their time, all of the you step into the story, it has its time. It's
Mhm.
the script is already written, like A Course in Miracles says. So you're going to have this time. But when you come up against those limitations, when you need to die to the old self,
Mhm.
we no longer have that attachment, because we get attached because we believe fully that we're that character and we don't want to
Yeah.
let go
Yeah.
of all of those things. And so
Yeah.
you know that we only have this one energy that we're working with. Like I tell
Mhm.
my clients all the time, it's not that you're just going to cut this, of course it's an unfavorable circumstance. So you think you're just going to cut that energy off and then you're just going to go on and do the old thing. Like, no, like it's
Yeah.
energy one mind. This
Mhm.
circumstance has to unravel into the desire. It's you're working with one energy here. So
Yeah.
yes, you have to allow and let it flow, let it rearrange for you. But when
Mhm.
you don't take yourself so serious that I am this and I have to hold on to all this and try to create safety around a certain story, you allow and you easily shift in. And so when you come up against those limitations, you understand that it is moving you into another story, I am wants to experience another story through you. And so
Yeah.
now you nail yourself to something greater, a greater
Mhm.
concept, which drives out the old. So yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. And it's funny that you mentioned like it's all just one energy that we're working with here, because that's the whole thing that you need to understand is like everything is just energy. It's one energy. So when you are fulfilled, when you are at peace, when you're connected and you're one with source and you recognize that that's who you are, you don't have to figure out how to manifest this thing or that thing or that thing. It's already in alignment with who you're aware of being. So I just want people to understand that. Like before we knew anything about manifestation, how do you think all of these great things did happen for us? Or, whether or not you say like, well, everything was really difficult in my life until I learned about manifestation. Sure, I get that. But the point is, you didn't have to actively continually focus on those things to bring them into your experience. You were
Mhm.
in a dominant state of being, whatever that was, which then allowed these types of experiences to flow into your life. But really understanding that and connecting to the fact that you don't need to find safety in a story because you are safety itself. Like you
Yeah,
don't need to find
yeah,
love in another person because you are that love. Just
yes,
recognizing these things is going to drastically transform the way that you experience life. And then on top of that, continuing to choose to be aware of that is where you really start to know, again, from an experiential standpoint, that this is who you are. And then once you have that experience and that knowing, it's like nothing can shake you. Now, I don't mean that the 3D doesn't,
it's
have its
crazy.
ups and downs. Yeah, like that's fine. And we're going to have human emotions and human experiences at the end of the day. But you can do it from a stable foundation of knowing who you are so that you don't completely lose your way again and feel overwhelmed and, swallowed up by the circumstances.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that. I love that whole I think that was the one thing that helped me really shift was truly understanding it was one energy because I used to try to cut that energy off and be like, "Oh, I don't want to look at it. I'm not going to deal with
Yes.
it." Now I'm
Yep.
looking over here and I want this to come, but then you're still like not realizing that all that energy has to go somewhere. Like we always
Yeah.
say, energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be
Yeah.
transformed. It has to
Yep.
be transformed like so, but now I understand because I'm not the circumstances themselves, such as like they have all this power over me. I understand that circumstances can be circumstances, but I'm still greater than all of them. You're still greater,
Yeah.
still much bigger than all of any one particular and any one particular story you decide to step into. You're still greater than all
Absolutely.
of it. And so, they
Absolutely.
have their moments. You enjoy it for what it is. And so I think too, now I want to get into your perspective on what do you feel about the easiest way to really truly manifest and be? Because I am someone that really talks about really living a full life. To me is
Mhm.
really the key, really, because your only job to me is expressing letting I am express itself through you. So living a
Yeah.
full life, expressing a full life, not
Mhm.
just be, of course you want to manifest one thing, but if you are so stuck on it, where in
Mhm.
other areas of your life could you express more and allow I am to like really move through you? I'm someone that's like, if you live a full life, you really can't get it wrong. So what is
Yeah.
your expression or
Totally.
your way that you feel is easiest to like manifest and just be?
Absolutely. So I totally agree with you on that. And it's funny because I do always ask my clients, like, especially people who have one particular desire, I always just say, okay, that's fine. What else is going on in your life? How's this? How's that? And sometimes they'll tell me, like, every other area in my life is amazing. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then other times it's like, well, now that you mention it, like, friendships are kind of iffy, work kind of, but that's fine. It's okay. And I'm like, okay. So because you already have the relationship, we don't have to worry about that. What are you going to do after you're experiencing the relationship? What else is going to be involved in that experience? And then most people are kind of like, I haven't thought about that. So you're so right. Not only, sure, you can focus on one desire, but the thing is, you are truly cultivating that beingness of that version of you. So really, people think I like to go broad, for example. Like you always just say
I
go
love that.
broad. And I'm like, well, there's a reason for it. It's
Yes.
not because you cannot be specific, but let's be real, as the character, we think we know so much more than source. And it's like hilarious. We don't. We don't. We're very limited in what we can perceive and what we can see because we're always just looking through one perspective while
Yeah.
as source can see all of it, sees the whole, and knows how everything fits together perfectly to allow you to have these experiences, or really to allow source to have these experiences through us. So just understanding all of that, what I always say is you will never be sorry for knowing yourself, honestly, because what's fueling all of these desires in the first place? We want to know who we truly are. That's the reason why we have these desires. And I always say to people, like, every desire is meant for you. You already have all of it. So every single desire that you have is absolutely beautiful and it's important to you. But the thing is, there's an underlying desire through all of those. And that is to truly know yourself. And then, even if you go onto a human perspective, what does everybody really want at the end of the day, regardless of what desires they are presenting as? What it really comes down to is wanting to feel free and wanting to feel safe. So, what I suggest that people do is start focusing on the fact that right now they are safe. They are completely free. And I get that to the character, there's going to be some pushback there. It's like, what do you mean I'm free? Why am I dealing with this then? But the point is, the more you choose to become aware of that, you don't have to be convinced. You don't have to fully believe it. You just want to bring it into your awareness. The more you are going to start to see these changes in your everyday experiences. You're going to start to notice that, wow, like that person just gave me a little clue about this cop catching people in the speed traps, or
Right.
I'm totally free because I just got let off of work early and I have all this free time now. And it will just continue to snowball. So again, nothing against going for one specific desire. The whole point of that desire is for you to live a fulfilling, satisfying life. So if you had that thing, how would you be defining your life? And again, for me, I like to go general, and I would say something like, wow, I never knew my life could be this amazing. You know, oh my gosh, I just realized I have everything I have ever wanted, you know? And that really brings some emotions up because I don't think most people allow themselves to even go there, to even think about what that could actually look like and feel like, because we're really scared that if we don't get it, we're gonna be devastated. We're gonna be let down. So it's easier to focus on that one thing and make that your primary focus. But in my experience, that actually makes it a lot more difficult because if you had it and this were who you were, you would be living your life, like you said.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love your perspective on that. I'm definitely here with you there on that because that for me that was the biggest game changer. I often talk about in one of my businesses how I looked up one day and I had already made six figures and it was like 6 or 7 months. And I think it was just because
Yeah.
when I tell you I was having the best time of my life, I stopped
Yes.
worrying about it. I said, you know what? Because I had all these goals, and then I was thinking it was going to take me like over a year, 2 years to hit six figures, human perspective.
Yeah.
Then I said, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just gonna go have a good time because I do have time in my life where I can go travel a little more. I can
Hmm.
go out on more dates. I can hang out with my friends. And before I knew it, I was traveling everywhere, doing just living the most amazing, having the most amazing experiences that I don't even know how it happened. It just you wake up
Yes.
one day and it's there. Like
Yep.
I was living already the wish fulfilled in the end. And so it just really happened. And so
Mhm.
really taking your attention off of that and going more general, you guys know that's the reason why I say it too, because you really can't get it wrong. And of course, if you put more effort into the things that are already going amazing in your life, such as, you might be having, fun with your family, your friends, if you could just give a little bit more to that,
Mhm.
being more grateful for that, expressing that more, you won't even be really worried about what's going
Yeah,
on over there. You just
exactly.
would not be worried about it because you feel the love that you are in the areas where they are. So if you magnify what you already have, the love of
Mhm.
what you already have and what you already are, I'm telling you, somehow some things get rearranged and move around because
Yes.
lack cannot exist when
Hmm.
you're already being loved. It just cannot exist in that vibration that
Yeah.
you're expressing. So somehow, some way, it will get rearranged for you.
Hmm.
And it's not going to
Yeah.
be because you did anything, you
Yes.
physically did anything. It was because you were expressing your awareness of being. So
Mhm.
that's why going general will always, always, always get you
Yeah.
the place that you need to be. So yeah.
Totally. Totally. Absolutely. And you're so right about that. Like, think about when you met your person or when money was good. Like every time you can think at that point of your life, it was always, oh, I was actually just living my life.
Yeah.
And that thing just like showed up seemingly out of nowhere. It's
Hmm.
when we start to get super focused on that specific thing. We
Yeah.
start to focus on the lack of what might be going on in that situation with that thing. And then it feels like, oh my gosh, how do I get back to that place where everything was amazing? It's really just forgetting that you're being too serious now. You're
Yeah.
thinking that all of this stuff is very serious. You have to be very strict with yourself. You have to like push and force and persist. And
Mm.
it's none of that. It's so none of that. It's really, oh my gosh, I have been being way too serious and I forgot who I was. It's
Yeah.
time to have fun again. It's time to be playful. It's time to enjoy myself for the enjoyment of it, you know?
Yes, 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 exactly. Exactly. I always just say, you know what? I'm just gonna go have the best day ever. And if I'm going through something, I just say, I'm gonna have the best day ever. And, usually I just go out and play with my dogs or I, do something amazing. And, by the end of the day, I'm like, I'm so glad that I didn't sit around harping on that
Yes.
one thing. Like that just would have just took me down a spiral if I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel better about it. But I also want to say how you won't find the solutions in a problem anyway. The
Oh no.
solutions exist in a whole other reality and
Mm-hmm.
within your I am, which is already outside of space and time. So you're not going to find it in this linearity that you're experiencing right now. So when you are expressing your I am awareness, having fun, and doing those things that you love, you're more open and receptive to the information that is coming from outside time and space, dropping in the breadcrumb of the you that's already experiencing
Absolutely.
it. You're already
Yeah.
in the flow, in the path of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why following your highest excitement, is
Mm-hmm.
going to be always the best bet possible too. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
100%. Totally.
Yeah. So I also want to ask you because this goes along with what we were talking about, but I'm someone that definitely believes in, the people that watch my channel, they hear it a lot about how your inner senses are really creative, but your outer senses are very like reactive. If you're just looking
Mm.
at what is already what
Yeah.
is, then
Yeah.
and you're using all the senses that you have, then to me they're very reactive because as we
Mm-hmm.
know, the outside, no, there is no out here, but it can't
Yeah.
give you anything anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But inner senses, they are the ones that are creative. And I'm someone that believes that if you see some sort of lack in your life or something, a situation, a circumstance, you felt that inward first before
Mm-hmm.
it came into a circumstance, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what is your perspective of using your inner senses, such as imagination, even hearing what you want within touching, smelling? That's how I got, pretty much everything in my life was really
Yeah.
understanding that my inner senses were creative. What is
Hmm.
your standpoint or perspective on that? Because even if you can't physically do anything, let's say for the
Hmm.
people who are, may not be in the place to really express, you know,
Right.
go out and do the things that they would love to do. I
Hmm.
always say you have the kingdom within you. It's always with you.
Hmm.
So you have every possible moment to go within and shut the door and give yourself your desires within.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm someone that really loves to share that and have people really get in tune with their spiritual senses, because like I said, your I am awareness is outside of space and time, but also at the same time, when you go within, you are acting as God. You are really being God. You are using your God power right there and
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
within, because it's always now for I am. And so when you
Hmm.
see what you want to see, when you hear what you want to hear, and it's right then and there, it's happening now. It's not, we're gonna wait till it just comes in and then it happens. Like, no, for God,
Yeah.
it is right then and there. So when you
Hmm.
use your inner senses, you are acting as God. You are being God in that moment. So what is your perspective of, inner senses and outer senses?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I absolutely agree with that. And, for me, I did have lots of periods in my life where, like you were saying, I didn't have anything that I could do. I had no family where I was at the time. I didn't have absolutely any friends at the time. I felt very isolated in my marriage that I was in at the time. And really, I kind of was forced in a way to go within because I didn't have anything else. And I was so tired of my five senses telling me what was. And I just didn't want to deal with that anymore. So I started naturally just talking to myself, hearing the things that I wanted to hear from other people. And I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. I just knew that it felt so much better than worrying about what was going on in my 3D experience. So the more I did that, the more peace I started to feel. And it's really not like I was trying to get anything because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I started to notice I'm so much calmer. I'm so much more peaceful. Even though things were still kind of crazy in my life, I started feeling at peace. I started feeling content. And then, of course, what started to happen was that my life was rearranging itself for exactly what I wanted to be experiencing. So, again, if I were to use my five senses in that experience, no way. I would have said, this is the worst thing possible that could be happening. But the truth is, on the other side of that, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It was the falling apart of my marriage, which was what I wanted anyways. I just didn't know how to get out of that space. So it felt scary at the time. I had no money. I was in a, abusive, controlling relationship, if you will. I was moved away 10 hours from my family. Like I had no car, I didn't have anything. And I got the car. It was just given to me. And I drove 10 hours to go home within that week, found a new job. I made lots of friends at my new job. And it was like all within the span of just a few weeks. I was like now this independent woman that I wanted to be, living life on my terms. And I started to recognize that the change happened when I just left all of this alone and I went within myself and I gave myself the permission to have it now, anyways.
That's so beautiful. Yes, yes, you guys. That really is truly, truly. If you, because I get a lot of people that'll email me and say, "Well, I don't have this thing. I can't go out here. I can't do that."
Yeah.
I'm someone that believes, if you're here, that means that you were chosen to have a divine experience,
Yeah.
to, be God. You are an ideal within the mind of the all. So your purpose here is not just some little thing.
Yeah.
So you have the kingdom, all of us, no matter what, you have the tools to move you out of whatever circumstance that you do not want to be in. And so even if it looks like something's going on out here within yourself, you can, even if you can't imagine, you could tell yourself, you could hear, your specific person say what you want them to say. You can
Yeah.
hear, you can see the money in your bank account or whatever the case may be. You can hear, you can feel. That's how I got my dream car. Like I was someone that felt it within me. And so when it
Okay,
showed up
cool.
in this most crazy way, it was just so normal because I was already driving it within my.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so for me, I think, I really want you guys to start using that because that is a divine act. You are
Hmm.
being God when you see it right now within. It's not that it's later,
Yeah,
the 3D is going to do the 3D because remember, you're working with one energy. It got to rearrange around, but that doesn't mean
hmm.
that it's not already happening. It's happening within. That
Yeah,
means it's already happening. You just have to be more loyal to your inner world than your outer world because your outer world is
yeah.
already pretty much something that you saw a long time.
Been there, done that.
I think you're still reacting to it, and that's why
Yes.
it just looks the same, is because
Hmm.
you're using those same five senses to react to what already is. And so that's why it seems like it's been years, months, days, whatever. The
Yeah.
situation is not changing because you keep putting your awareness of being on that. And so
Hmm.
yeah, if you want to shift, definitely go within and really hear what it is that you want to hear. Really trust within because your I am awareness is within you. If you want
Yes.
that direct line, it's within you. All right.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so yeah. Anything else that you would like to share with other people before I ask this one question?
Sure. Well, just to follow up with what you just said, it's so important to recognize what your inner world really is. Because I know for me, when I started into the law of assumption and I started hearing about all of these techniques, I was going within, I was imagining, I was visualizing, I was doing all these things, and I wasn't seeing it. But here's the thing, I was doing it under this idea that, okay, so I just go do a scene in my mind and then like it'll happen at some point. Cool. But I wasn't actually seeing it as a real experience. I was seeing it as kind of like, okay, I'll just do this thing real quick, like so I can get my thing. No, no, that's not what this is. And so, of course, for me, then I'm like, this isn't working. Like, I don't understand this. What is it that I'm missing here? Well, I was missing all of it. I didn't understand that imagination is our truth, it's our reality, it's who we are. And imagination is not just visualization, it's absolutely everything you do within. The way that you talk to yourself, the way that you choose to perceive situations. So, again, with the five senses, understanding that they are so incredibly limited to what's actually going on, you just have to recognize that. Like, okay, am I going to trust in the absolute infinite being that I truly am, that can access anything at any moment whenever they want to? Or am I going to trust in my very limited five senses that can only perceive a pinhole, let's just say, of what's
Yeah,
actually available? And secondly, the mind that only works with the past stories. For me, it's a no brainer. I'm going to trust in the infinite being that is always here with me, one with me, guiding me, showing me the things that I want to see and experience. And I just have to trust in that. I just have to make that my number one. That's the thing that I buy into above all else. Even when my senses are telling me it's this is what's going on, I can feel what I feel, but then I go back to that space, and that's what I really want people to understand. It's not, oh, I don't want to just experience it in my imagination. You are imagination. So when you experience it there, you want to have that perspective. It's happened. I felt it. I saw it. I heard it. I smelled it, whatever. And now it's mine. And I can accept that and go live my life because I've already experienced it.
Yes, yes, I love that. I love that clarification. I also want to clarify just a little bit more on that, how it really is what Neville talks about as far as catching the mood, because
Mm,
I talk about this a lot, catching the mood when you go within. And I recently had a success story where a subscriber done it very beautifully. It just starts with one little thing you're hearing, one little thing you may be seeing, touching, tasting, whatever within. Like, I don't know about you, but sometimes I wake up in the morning and I can taste the coffee before I even get to the coffee pot.
yes.
Like, that's how,
Yes.
like, I mean, that's the same thing. You can do the same thing, like,
Yep.
within yourself, but it's catching the mood. And remember, all of many versions of you that are living all the different other lives simultaneously are within I am right now. But I am is your imagination, it's within you. So when you go within and you, let's say, conjure up a scene, or you hear or you see, or whatever sense you use within, it starts with that one. But then when you trust it enough, you start to have all these other scenes that just come about. Like, you don't
Yes.
even
They
have to
come
do
to
it.
you.
You don't even
Yes.
have to do it. Like, you don't
Yep.
have to go forcing them. They just come out of you. But what it's doing is it's merging you and catching the mood of the you that's already experiencing it. So when your specific person like comes, or when the money gets here, it's already been natural because you've already lived it and you've been experiencing it within. So you know that that was the truth within. So when it comes like out here, it's not
Mhm.
going to be like this, oh my God, it's like, you might, have like a fun moment or whatever, but
Yeah.
you're going to be like, oh yeah, like I've already had it, of course. Like,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
was already living that, of course. Like, my SP is here, like, duh, they never left because I was living that experience
Yeah.
in. Like, so that's really what this is. You're catching the mood of the you. And so you will definitely learn to trust that more, and it will just line up for you. And then outside will start dropping the breadcrumbs in and like really pulling you in. The world will just rearrange like around that.
Yeah.
So trust your awareness of being, trust what's happening within you more than what's going on out here. I know that you may have your moments of, you know, doubt. You may have a little spiral here or there, but it's not
Yeah.
about the fact that you reacted this one time or two times or whatever. It's where you constantly dwell. It's where you
Hmm.
constantly are dwelling within. That's what's going to be the deciding factor of where you're living or what's going on in your world.
Hmm.
So, yes, have your moments. Yes, get upset. Yes, have the human experience, because you
Hmm.
will have that. But where you choose to dwell is the most important thing. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, one other question that I wanted to just ask, because I had a client ask me this question and they said, well, if we're talking about the art of dying, could I just revise? And wouldn't
Mhm.
revision be seen as dying to the old self? So, I want to ask you, Brittany, what your perspective is on this, before I give mine, because they were
Mhm.
talking about revising to move to the reality where they're already with their specific person, or they had a breakup or something, or let's say that money is, where the money is there, revising to where get a certain situation like solved or all that. Would
Oh.
you kind of have that perspective that that could be similar or the same?
Yeah. So it's funny because I think a lot of people look at revision as like this whole separate thing. It's like, well, okay, fine. I could choose the identity that I want, or I could also revise. But here's the thing. We're literally always revising, always, because we're brand new, always, in every moment. We're brand new. So, really, just understanding that, while sure, you could choose to see it from a perspective of, well, actually, it didn't happen that way, it happened this way. It's just living. It's just living as a creator, as source, knowing who you are, that you're always revising. So, understanding that you really don't have to go back to a space or a situation where something happened and now you have to try to tell yourself it happened differently and look at it differently. What you really want to just start doing is, again, flowing with life, allowing everything to be the way that it is, and then choosing your preferred perspective or your preferred identity. So really, I'm silly at times with this whole character thing, but I'll just kind of say things like, okay, if in the moment you have an experience that you would not prefer and you don't like it and it makes no sense for who you think your character should be, then feel what needs to be felt. It's okay. But then come back and recognize who that just happened to. That didn't happen to you, that happened to a character, one of infinite characters. And you don't have to attach your sense of self to that. So I would just say things like, oh, well, that wasn't me. And then I move on with my life. Or I'll say something like, does that make any sense for me? Because I'm already living the life of my dreams, something like that.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. So then I'm free to drop it. I'm not responsible for things that I don't prefer. We aren't here to fix problems. Like you mentioned before, the solution is not going to be in that problem anyway. So, truly, the way that I look at this is if something shows up in your experience that you don't like, you can look at it in a few different ways. You can recognize it as the perfect unfolding, which everything is anyway, or you can just deny it as a part of who you are. Really, that's how I want people to be moving through their experience, anyways. Being aware, allowing everything, definitely not resisting, but in that allowing, also remembering that you have the freedom to choose. So, choosing what you want to define yourself as is the way that you allow it and then drop it and move on. So, that's what I would say about that. And again, it's not that revision in itself is wrong or not, you can't do it, but just understanding that you don't have to do a separate now thing, a separate technique or a separate way of doing something to erase something that's happened, which we're not erasing it anyways. We're constantly choosing, and that will then change the way that the past appears to be and the way that your future is going to appear to be. So, really, just understanding that it's never about changing anything. You're not erasing anything from creation. We can't do that. We need it all to experience infinity and being source. So, just understanding it's not going away, but you can choose to, you know, drop it from your personal experience.
Yes, I love that. I love that perspective. I'm someone that I take revision to be something of the perspective of really understanding it in a way that, if there's a certain situation or something that you've been through that you can't seem to kind of get your mind off of, if I come across a client that's
Mm,
like keeps going back to this one particular situation, it's because to me they kind of like try to do a little rearranging for that version of them that already exists. Like you said, like you can't add or take anything away
mm,
from I am. Every single version of you exists within I am. But
yeah,
I find that it's this rejecting of that version, or this fact that, of course, like as the character, we're the ones that have judgments about things, but I am doesn't care about what happened, how it got there, whatever. Like it
yeah. It loves all
all
of
of it can
it.
exist. Yeah. All of it can exist and it's cool. Like it just has this neutral perspective about it. But
Hmm.
I'm it's kind of like, yes, all versions exist, but I find that they're trying to kick that version of themselves like out of the whole. But
Yeah,
because I had that experience, like when I went back to revise this one particular situation, most people think they're revising to get a thing or to get a specific outcome. But to
yeah.
me, I have this understanding that revision is to see that there was no lack to begin with, or to see
Hmm.
that, understand that if you can go back and see it another way, then that shows you that it didn't happen in that way. Not only did it not
Yeah.
happen in that way, but this character that you, or this version of yourself that you keep trying to reject or change or exclude, now you welcome it into that whole
Hmm.
instead of trying to leave it off, because we have these different perspectives or these different lenses as we're stepping into all these different versions of ourselves, but it's only just seeing the tiniest perspective of
Yeah.
the whole. It's not, you're not even seeing the bigger picture. But to try to exclude one version of yourself is to still
Hmm.
reject the whole of who you are. And so
Yeah.
once you go back and you see it the way that you want to see it, now you invite that version of yourself, not to try to really change what happened or to get a specific thing.
Hmm.
It's for yourself. It's to
Yeah.
invite all of yourself into the whole. So now when you go to claim who you are or decide what you want from this now moment,
Hmm.
you're not doing it as a fractioned off version or like this version where you're still trying to divide up I am. It's now
Yeah.
moving as this whole you, making
Hmm.
a decision or a declaration from this whole you. And so
Yeah.
vision is to not reject any version of yourself, is to bring love to all the versions of yourself and then bring it into the whole. So now you can claim and now you'll be able to move as one with all the versions instead of that version, I didn't like what happened there. We're gonna just leave that version off, and
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
that's really what it was. It was like, girl, that girl was
Totally.
too much, and we're just leaving her there. And no, I don't
Yeah.
ever deal with her again. It's like, no, the compassion and the love,
Yeah, exactly.
the compassion and the love that I had was just like, man, because I am was still playing that role too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I am had that experience through that version too. So it doesn't matter what it looked like at
Hmm.
that moment.
Hmm.
I,
Yeah.
at Autumn, have the judgments about it, but I am didn't.
Yes.
So there was
Yep.
no need to like really condemn that
Right.
version or any experience that you had.
Yep.
So now you bring it in, and so now you're one fully formed one. Now that you recognize it, and so
Hmm.
now you can choose again from that infinite, not excluding any version because, like I said, when you're trying to divide it up and just
Yeah.
like, we're not dealing with that,
Yeah. Exactly.
you're still leaving off,
Hmm.
still rejecting yourself. So that's why
Yeah.
some manifestations can come in half baked, or you really
Yes.
don't feel this fullness of yourself.
Hmm.
And so
Absolutely.
for me, understanding that for me, revision is not about necessarily like changing one thing.
Hmm.
It's about the version of you that you keep trying to leave out because I find that it's about the version of the people that they don't like,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
trying to
Absolutely.
rearrange little parts of the human. And the human is
Yes.
fine. She's
Yeah.
fine. Fine. Leave her
Exactly.
alone. She's okay.
Exactly.
If you let her just die, she'll be fine, you
Hmm.
know? So,
Yeah.
so it's about
Of
merging, to
course.
me, about merging as
Yeah.
a whole you instead of,
Absolutely.
you know. So that's
Yeah.
my perspective of like revision.
Totally,
But yeah,
totally. And it's so true. I love that. And like you said, it's you cannot expect to change essentially a piece of the puzzle, the whole of creation, and then for it to work still. That will never happen. And that character is loyal to its identity. So she's not
exactly.
budging either. So
Right.
just
She's like rocking it.
recognizing that, like, let's love her. It's okay. It's okay to have those experiences. Like you said, we're just looking through one little perspective. So understanding that while we might have a temporary misconception of the way that things went or how they were experienced, source doesn't.
Yeah.
Source doesn't have any judgment whatsoever. So
Right.
coming back, like you said, to remembering who you are and then choosing to see it in a way that's just allowing it, but also recognizing that, okay, in that moment, if I had a reaction to it, if I feel like I need to push it away or get rid of it, all that's really saying is I'm forgetting who I am. I'm
Yeah.
believing I'm the character and I'm not. Silly me. Let me come back to my truth and that will be taken care of. It will take care of itself.
Yes, yes. And I feel like that will definitely give our audience a bigger perspective because I think that's the one thing I see a lot is people thinking there's something wrong with the current version of them or a
Yeah.
certain version of them. And it's like
Mhm.
keep going back there because you're still living there. You're not accepting it. You're not allowing it to be what it is. I think because, like I said, when you take yourself to be small or take yourself to be this just small self acting from down here but forgetting you're the whole picture, you you're the one that has the judgments about how things unfold and what they need to look like and all of
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
I am played that role through that character just like it does every single other character, and it does not condemn you for any experience that you've had or will have. And so
Yeah.
understanding that you could just be easy and be soft with yourself about that,
Yeah.
and come back to understanding that you just can't see the full picture. You're not going to be able to see like everything, But if you just
Mhm.
understand that you're so much bigger than this one particular little piece that you keep trying to like maneuver around or exclude, you know,
Yeah.
if you can see that you're more than that, then it's like you instantly move yourself back to center, back to whole, and then you're like, okay, like she's fine. Like that for me, I think that was the biggest switch to me because after that whole shift, it's like
Yeah.
everything just kind of flowed in that I was kind of holding
Yeah.
myself, holding separation, because you're still holding
Yeah.
separation when you're doing
Yeah.
that. So you're holding
Right.
everything that's already present, can't even see it in your awareness.
Yep.
You're moving as a fractioned off self.
Hmm.
So now when you bring it all of it can exist and you're okay with it. You're like, I still
Yeah.
know that I'm source and I'm greater than all of it. Now you're able to see everything that's wants to come to you and wants to be in your awareness. You could
Yeah.
immediately see it because now you're looking from love, which love,
Totally.
dissolves all things anyway. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, great perspective, great. And so yeah, anything else that you want to share with people in terms of like just anything, any wisdom that you have to share with other people?
Yeah, yeah. I think really the last thing that I want to share or touch on is, of course, really what the theme is of our conversation, all of both of our videos, really the truth, who you really are. And I think I get it. Like a lot of people are very, very heavily focused on getting the thing, really need that thing. I just can't not have that thing. And there's nothing wrong with it. You're meant to have everything that you want, and it's not going anywhere. It's not separate from you. But I can promise you that if you just chill out for a second with those things and make your priority, I am. And I have lots of videos on how to do this, but I think people are still like worried or scared because how do I know? How do I know? I keep saying I am. I keep saying I'm God. I keep saying I'm one. I say these things and I just don't connect with it. It doesn't happen. I don't get it. And really, I'm going to say this again, it's experiential. Like you can listen to my videos, you can listen to Autumn's videos, and you can really get a firm grasp on this. But until you actually allow yourself to have this experience, and really what I'm talking about is simply just sitting, resting in the truth, resting in I am. Something that I like to say is, I am the faceless, formless, invisible substance of power. And then I just sit in that. I'm not convincing, I'm not forcing, I'm not searching, I'm not waiting. I'm simply just resting in that. And the more you do this, the more you choose to become aware of this, the more you're going to start to know it. You're going to start to feel it. You're going to start to see it. And there's no mistaking that. Again, logic really can't get you very far in this practice. So, doing whatever you can to bring this into your awareness, and again, not by force, not by trying to understand it with your mind, but really letting go of everything and sitting in that awareness is it's everything. It's literally everything. You realize that the love that you want in another person, which is absolutely beautiful and valid in its own right, is nothing compared to the love that source has for you. It's unconditional. It's always there. You can trust it, you can rely on it, and that's truly all you need. And then the cherry on top of it is that everything that you've been desiring is going to appear to you effortlessly, without force, without needing it. It's just yours, it's revealed to you. So, if I could say anything to you guys, it is that this is the most important part of why you're here. This is why you have the desires that you have, because underneath of it, you want to know this truth for yourself.
Yes, beautiful, Brittany. Thank you so much. And I want to I love that your expression was that the faceless, formless awareness. Mine is I just always tell myself I'm already asking for what I have and what I am. That's what I just say.
Yeah.
I'm already asking for what I have and what I am, and I
I
just
love that.
sit in that awareness. And like she said, it is so true. The only way you're really going to grasp this is having that direct experience. And
Yeah.
you have to allow yourself to have it, especially if you're someone who has been trying so hard and you're not getting any results anyway. Why not
Yeah,
why not
exactly.
try it this way? Why not allow yourself the direct experience? Why not really go all the way and see what happens? Just
Yeah.
really go all the way. Test, like Neville says, test him, test your I am
Mm,
awareness and see.
yeah.
Because, like, people ask me all the time, like, to describe I am or describe, like, you really cannot. It's so hard to
Yeah.
put into words. I think we do okay, but
Yeah.
it's not
Words
even
are so limited.
it's not even hitting on what it really is like to experience
Yeah.
the deep
Yeah.
knowing and awareness for yourself. And only you can allow
Mhm.
that to be shown to you. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely I would love for you guys to check out Brittany's channel. She has so many amazing videos and she describes it differently than I do. And if you love my content, make sure you keep watching my channel. And yeah, I have a master classes coming up too that we really go more in depth with this. One of them, the first one is Mind the Mind, talking about how to not identify with your mind, but also how to use your mind instead of letting the mind use you, and how to come out of those illusions. And of course, if you've taken my I am immersion experience before, we are having that masterclass again. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about what we talked about here, plus so much more, and really understanding how to just really recognize yourself as source. And really, I really think it would be beneficial for you guys. So definitely, if that interests you, definitely go check out all my links below. I will drop Brittany's channel and her links below to reach her. And so definitely, if you have any amazing fun stuff coming up, make sure you share with us. Brittany, do you have any fun stuff coming up or anything
Nothing planned,
that's
nothing planned.
planned?
Although, well, I guess actually I do, as you do. I'm gonna be in Mr. Brandon's, Skool community, Twiss Mystic, if nobody knows about him. But we were both on his podcast. So now it's just, okay, let's move into something different. So I'm
Yes.
gonna be on the Skool community. I think it's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, May 10th. And I'm really, really excited for that. So if any of you guys are interested, join the Skool community. A lot of you might even be in the community, but just a heads up, I will be doing that. And I see Autumn will be doing it as well. So I'm
Yes,
excited.
yes. I'm actually going to be on the I believe it's the 17th, I believe. I will link it down
Okay.
below. But I will be on Brandon's community as well. So I'm excited to see a lot of your lovely faces there as well. And just to really, let's keep growing together. I was telling Brittany the other day when we met that, it's so interesting how, like, all of this just comes about. Like, you just look up and you start sharing this message. You don't really even plan it.
Yeah.
You just kind of
Seriously.
do it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of the direct experience that
Mhm.
of love for yourself, of really knowing yourself, that, like I told Brittany, love will not let you be quiet about it. It just won't.
Yeah.
Love will not
Yeah.
let you be quiet about this
So
message.
true.
So,
So
so
true.
no, it's so amazing that we get to share in this community. I want to thank Brittany again for joining me here. It was such an amazing conversation, and definitely amazing to get to, like, know Brittany a little bit more. And so, yeah, you guys, I want to thank you guys so much. And yeah, let's get down in the comments. Let's chat and let me know how you loved this conversation. And I will see you guys on the next one. And remember, your imagination is on your side. I am too. And thank you so much, Brittany.
Thank you so much, Autumn. You're amazing. This
Thank
was
you.
fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Bye.